This is Planning Your I Do from You Had Me at I Do. For over a quarter century, You Had Me at I Do has been helping couples say, I do. We bring more than 400 weddings of real-world experience as an officiant and a DJ, and this podcast is packed with what you, as the bride and groom, need to know, what you're wondering about, and what's keeping you up at night. No judgment, no fluff, just real answers and ideas for real planning. Here's today's episode.
You know, if you are a bride-to-be listening to us right now, I just want you to take a really deep breath.
Yes, absolutely. Just let your shoulders drop.
Right. Because we know exactly what you are walking into every single time you open your phone. I mean, the sheer volume of noise you're facing is probably staggering.
Oh, it's completely overwhelming.
It is. You've got these endless wedding forums debating, literally every single choice you make. And then there are those Pinterest boards filled with these impossibly romantic photos that, well, they look less like real life and more like, major motion picture posters.
Yeah, totally. They set this completely unrealistic standard.
Exactly. And on top of that, you have the very strong opinions of literally everyone around you. I mean, your mother has an opinion, your photographer has an opinion, your college roommate probably has an opinion.
Everyone wants to weigh in.
Right. And all of them are weighing in on this one hotly contested decision about your day. Like, should you do a private first look before the ceremony? Or, should you hold out for that traditional aisle reveal?
It is, hands down, the ultimate wedding day debate. And it comes with so much pressure, mostly because every single person telling you what to do presents their preference as the absolute right way to do things.
Yeah, like it's a fact.
Exactly. And the implication is always, if you choose the other option, you are somehow going to ruin your own wedding.
Mm-hmm. Which is just so stressful. So the goal of our deep dive today is to really unpack this heavily debated topic. And notice I said unpack, right? We are going to completely clear away all that external noise and all those incredibly loud opinions.
Because you need to make this choice deliberately.
Yes, deliberately based on what you actually want to feel on your day, not, what your photographer wants for their portfolio or what your family just assumes you'll do. It's about what you want to experience.
Which is such a vital distinction. I mean, when you are deep in the trenches of planning a wedding, it is incredibly easy to lose sight of the feeling. You get so overwhelmingly focused on the visuals.
Oh, for sure. You're agonizing over color palettes and floral arrangements.
Right, and you just forget to plan the emotional landscape of the day.
I always think it's like you're functioning as both the director and the star of a live play.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, because as the director, everyone, your vendors, your family, your bridal party, they're constantly giving you notes on how this big scene should look to the audience. Where the lighting is best or where the bridesmaids should stand.
The exact angle of the train of your dress.
Exactly. But rarely does anyone stop the production meeting to ask the star, which is you, by the way, how you want the scene to actually feel from the stage.
How it feels from the stage. That is a brilliant way to frame it. And, to ground our discussion today, we're pulling from some incredibly rich source material. We're looking at 26 years of real-world experience.
Wow.
Yeah, observing over 400 weddings. And when you watch that many couples navigate one of the most intense, emotionally heightened days of their lives, you kind of stop relying on theory.
Right. You start seeing the actual patterns.
Exactly. You see undeniable patterns. And the foundational truth drawn from all those hundreds of weddings, like the ultimate spoiler for this entire debate, is that there is absolutely no wrong answer.
No wrong answer. I feel like we should print that on a giant banner and just hang it in every bridal suite in the country.
Seriously. It just immediately lowers the stakes of the decision.
It really does.
Over those 26 years, the pattern is just so clear. There are couples who cry these beautiful, overwhelming tears at a private first look. There are couples who completely lose their composure walking down the aisle.
And some who do both, right?
Yes. Couples who do the private reveal and the public walk and happily cry their eyes out twice. I mean, the success of the choice isn't about following some rigid formula. It is entirely about matching the format to your own personality and your unique emotional needs.
Okay, so to help our director/star make this choice deliberately, we really need to look at what stepping away from the audience and stepping away from those expectations actually offers you. Let's start with the private bubble.
Okay, let's get into it.
What are the actual mechanics of a first look? Like, how does it practically unfold on the day?
So mechanics-wise, a first look is a highly guarded, very private moment carved out of your timeline. It's usually about 30 to 45 minutes before the ceremony begins.
That requires some serious coordination, I imagine.
Oh, it requires strict stage management. The bridal party is tucked away. The parents are asked to wait inside. It is just you, your partner, and your photographers positioned quietly in the background.
So no distractions at all.
None. You are fully dressed, ready to go, and you see each other completely away from the guests. There's no aisle to walk down, and there are no expectations from an audience of 100 people just watching your every single move.
Okay, but I have to ask a practical question here. Because, I mean, I imagine the hour before your wedding ceremony feels like sitting inside a pressure cooker.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got hair, makeup, family arriving, vendors asking all these last-minute questions. Does adding a highly scheduled first look into that morning actually relieve that pressure? Or is it just like one more thing you have to perform?
That is such a common fear.
Right. Like, okay, go stand by that oak tree, wait for the tap on the shoulder, and act surprised for the cameras.
Yeah, and it's a valid fear if the moment is rushed. But when it's structured correctly, it is the exact opposite of a performance. Looking at the history of these 400 weddings, there's something we call the togetherness upside.
The togetherness upside, I like that.
Yeah, when it's done right, the first look is often the absolute last moment a couple gets to feel like their true unguarded selves all day.
Oh, that is fascinating. The last moment to just be themselves. Let's dig into that. Why is that the case?
Well, think about what happens after the ceremony. Once those vows are said and you turn to face the crowd, you are officially on duty.
Oh, right. You become the gracious host.
Exactly. You're thanking Aunt Linda for flying in. You are the radiant bride smiling for like 100 different cell phone cameras during the reception. You are composed, you're engaging, you're literally carrying the energy of the room.
So the first look is kind of that critical last breath before the curtain goes up and the show officially starts.
Yes. It's the quiet backstage moment where you can just exhale.
I love that.
There's actually a specific anecdote from the data that paints this perfectly. There was a groom who was absolutely convinced he was going to be stoic. He insisted he wasn't a crier.
Let me guess, he totally grabbed.
Oh, he completely lost it. During the first look, the moment he turned around and saw his bride, the sheer gravity of the day just hit him all at once. He literally had to turn away and physically steady himself against the trunk of a large oak tree.
Oh, wow. Just completely overcome.
Yeah, he was so overcome. And the bride, she didn't gasp perfectly for the camera or anything. She just started laughing through her own tears because it was such a real, unexpectedly vulnerable reaction from him.
That's so sweet.
It was. She walked over, put her hand on his back, and they just had this incredibly quiet, private minute to laugh and cry together.
See, that specific brand of quiet intimacy, you know, the inside jokes, the messy tears, the deep exhales, that feels almost impossible to replicate later.
It really is.
Like when you are standing at an altar with an officiant holding a microphone and 100 people staring at your backs, you just can't have that same moment.
You can't. It is impossible to replicate in public.
Yeah.
You just behave differently when you have an audience. And, you know, aside from that emotional intimacy, there is a very practical side to the first look, too.
Which is what the photographers usually push for.
Exactly. It's a massive logistical benefit. It gives you timeline flexibility.
Because if you do the first look, you can also knock out the bridal party portraits and the family photos before the ceremony even begins.
Precisely. And if you do all those photos early, I mean, you completely change the trajectory of your evening. Think about the standard timeline without a first look.
Okay, walk me through it.
The ceremony ends, and your guests head to a beautiful cocktail hour with incredible appetizers that you spent months picking out and, paying for.
Right, the food you actually want to eat.
Exactly. But meanwhile, you are sprinting across a golf course or a lawn, desperately trying to round up wandering uncles and corral rowdy groomsmen. You're trying to squeeze a 2-hour photo list into a 45-minute window before the sun goes down.
Oh, that sounds inherently stressful.
It is exhausting.
So the first look essentially buys your cocktail hour back. You get to actually mingle with the people who traveled across the country to celebrate you.
Yes. It gives you intimacy and it buys you time.
Yeah.
You walk into your own reception feeling totally relaxed because the heavy lifting of the photography is already done.
Okay, so if the first look solves all these logistical problems and it offers this beautiful private escape, it really begs the question, why would anyone subject themselves to the pressure of the traditional aisle reveal?
Right. Why wait?
Yeah. What is the psychological payoff that makes that agonizing wait actually worth it?
Well, it's because There is a very unique, undeniable power in shared anticipation. And that brings us to the profound emotional weight of the traditional aisle reveal.
Let's explore that, because the mechanics of the aisle reveal are completely different from the first look.
Oh, entirely different. You aren't carving out 30 minutes by a tree. You are carving out an entire day of waiting.
Right. You don't see each other all day. Sometimes you haven't seen each other since, what, the rehearsal dinner the night before?
Exactly. You wake up in separate rooms. You maybe text each other. The hair and makeup starts. The groomsmen arrive. And the anticipation builds for 6, 8, sometimes 10 hours.
That's a massive buildup.
It is. And finally, the ceremony begins, the music swells, the doors open, and you see each other for the very first time.
You know, I always compare the aisle reveal to the long, slow climb of a massive roller coaster.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because you wake up early, you start getting ready, and every hour that passes is like a click on the roller coaster track. Click, the hair is done. Click, the dress is zipped. Click, you are waiting in the staging area behind the heavy wooden doors.
The tension is just palpable at that point.
Right. You are building up all this incredible anticipation, all this physical tension, and then the doors open and the ceremony becomes this massive emotional release valve.
The emotional upside here is staggering, really, because it is a deeply public spectacle.
And we mean spectacle in the best possible way, right? Not like a circus, but a shared experience.
Absolutely. The word spectacle here means a visually and emotionally striking performance that everyone in the room is actively participating in. There's something profoundly primal about having everyone you love in one room, all entirely focused on this single moment.
It's like the energy in the room shifts.
Exactly. There's an incredible human phenomenon where a room full of people feeling the exact same anticipation somehow magnifies the emotion. I mean, when 100 people all hold their breath at the exact same moment, the silence is heavy. You can physically feel it.
That makes so much sense. It's like the emotional contagion of a crowd. When everyone else is holding back tears, it just amplifies your own feelings exponentially.
Yes, exactly. Your partner is at the end of the aisle watching you. You are experiencing that raw reaction. You know, the sudden gasp, the tears welling up, the hand covering the mouth, all at once, collectively, with your community.
It's a massive wave of shared human connection.
It really is.
And after seeing 400 weddings, you have to imagine that watching those doors open and seeing the groom's face just fall apart in the best way possible. I mean, it just never gets old.
It never gets old because it is pure, unedited reaction. And, you know, beyond the spectacle, there is also what we can call the tradition upside.
The tradition upside.
Yeah. We live in an era of fleeting wedding trends. You know, neon signs, specific photo filters, choreographed dances on TikTok. But choosing the aisle reveal isn't necessarily about following a trend. Very often, it's about honoring a thread of personal history.
Oh, like doing exactly what your parents or grandparents did. It connects you to your own family tree.
Exactly. Tradition isn't a trap you have to escape from. It is a thread you can choose to pull forward. Some couples choose the aisle reveal because they know their grandmother didn't see their grandfather until she walked down the aisle of her own church 50 years ago.
That's so powerful.
It is. And weaving that exact same story into their modern day is a part of who they are. If that historical thread pulls at your heart, if you have always pictured that specific cinematic moment since you were a kid, you should absolutely follow it.
Okay, so we have laid out these two incredible options. We have the quiet, intimate, highly practical escape of the first look. And then we have the powerful communal roller coaster drop of the aisle reveal.
Both are beautiful.
They really are. But placing these two options side by side naturally creates what has to be the single most common fear brides face when navigating this choice.
Ah, yes. The fear of ruining the magic.
Yes. It is the classic fear of opening a gift early. The thought process goes like this. If I do the private first look, if my partner has already seen me in the dress and we've already had our tearful, messy moment by the oak tree, is the magic completely spent by the time the doors open for the ceremony?
Does the aisle walk just feel completely flat and anticlimactic?
Exactly.
This is perhaps the biggest myth in the entire wedding industry, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the reality of hundreds of ceremonies firmly dismantles it.
Okay, dismantle it for us.
The idea that you can ruin or use up the moment relies on a fundamental misunderstanding of how human emotion works on a day with this much gravity. Emotion is not a finite resource.
It's not a tank of gas that just runs out because you drove it around the block once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You do not use up all your feelings at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and have absolutely nothing left in the tank for 4 o'clock. The reality is that the first look and the aisle reveal hold completely different contexts and carry completely different meanings for you and your partner.
Okay, tell me more about that.
A first look is a private conversation. The aisle walk is a public declaration.
Wait, I want to pause on that because that is a massive distinction. A private conversation versus a public declaration. The entire context shifts.
It changes everything about how you experience the moment. When you were doing a first look, you were just saying, look at us, we did it, you look beautiful. It's intimate.
Right, just between the two of you.
But when those ceremony doors open, even if you saw each other an hour ago, you are not walking toward a stranger in a suit. You are walking toward your person, accompanied by totally different sweeping music in front of every single person who has ever supported your relationship, to make a promise that is meant to last a lifetime.
Wow. The stakes of the moment are entirely different.
They are entirely different.
The environment is different, the music is different, the stakes are completely elevated, so the magic doesn't vanish. In some ways, I have to wonder, does seeing each other early actually help you absorb the ceremony better?
Very often, yes. Seeing each other beforehand can dramatically calm those intense pre-wedding jitters. It anchors you.
It grounds you.
Yes. Instead of standing behind the wooden doors, shaking with anticipation, feeling like you might forget how to walk in your heels, you have already connected with your partner. You've already taken a deep breath together.
Which has to be a huge relief.
It is. And because you have settled those racing butterflies, many couples find they're actually more present. They can look around, see the faces of their friends, and truly absorb the beauty of the aisle walk, rather than just surviving the walk in a blur of pure adrenaline.
So it's almost like the first look is the dress rehearsal for your emotions. It lets you get the overwhelming jitters out of the way so you can actually be present for the real show.
That is exactly what happens. In fact, there is real-world proof of this pattern. There are countless couples who did a first look at noon, had a wonderful grounding moment, and still absolutely sobbed at the altar a few hours later.
So they got the best of both worlds.
They did. Partners who whispered, "You look unbelievable," during the private portraits, and then completely lost their composure all over again when the ceremony music started.
Okay, I love that reassurance. But I want to pivot here because talking about our feelings and private bubbles and emotional release valves is a beautiful philosophical discussion. But eventually, romance has to meet reality. And reality on a wedding day is usually dictated by a ticking clock and a setting sun. We can talk about how we want to feel all day long, but you simply cannot negotiate with the sun.
You really can't.
So how often do the pure logistics of a wedding day just bully a couple into making one choice over the other?
It happens far more than people realize, honestly. But we need to reframe how we look at logistics. Logistics shouldn't bully you. They shouldn't force you into a corner where you feel resentful about your own wedding day.
Right.
But logistics are a highly practical tool that you need to respect. Sometimes the choice between a first look and an aisle reveal isn't a philosophical debate about emotion at all.
Sometimes it's just pure math.
It is entirely math.
Yeah.
Let's look at a very specific, incredibly common scenario. Let's say you are having an autumn wedding in October or November. The air is crisp, the leaves are beautiful, but you are losing daylight very early in the evening.
Right, the days are shorter.
And let's say your ceremony is scheduled for 5:45 p.m.
5:45 p.m. in late autumn. I mean, the sun is practically already dipping below the trees at that point.
Exactly. If your ceremony is at 5:45 p.m. and it lasts 30 minutes, it is now 6:15. If you insist on the traditional aisle reveal in that specific scenario, meaning you haven't taken a single photo together yet, you are facing a harsh mathematical reality.
There's no light left.
You simply might not have enough daylight left to take your portraits. You are going to be rushing your photographer through the last 10 minutes of usable light. You are going to completely miss your entire cocktail hour because you are taking family photos in the dark.
You'll literally be spending your first hour as a married couple sprinting across a lawn, barking orders at your bridal party, trying to beat the darkness while your guests are warmly inside, celebrating and eating the appetizers without you.
Right. And that is not how you want to feel. So in tight timeline scenarios like that late autumn sunset, choosing a first look isn't a compromise of your romance. It is actually a survival strategy designed to protect your romance.
Oh, that's a great way to put it, a survival strategy.
It protects your morning from being frantic. It protects your portrait time so you can actually enjoy posing with your partner. And it protects your time with your guests.
A survival strategy to protect the romance. That shifts the whole perspective. It is not giving up on a childhood dream of the aisle reveal. It is managing the reality of the sunset, so the dream doesn't accidentally become a stressful nightmare.
Exactly. And the most practical, actionable piece of advice you can take away from this is to ask your wedding coordinator or your photographer to build two entirely separate timelines. Have them write out a full day's timeline that includes a first look and a completely separate timeline that sticks to the traditional aisle reveal.
And then you just sit down at your kitchen table and look at them side by side.
Yes. Look at the trade-offs honestly. Look at both sheets of paper and ask yourself, where does the stress show up on timeline A versus timeline B? Where do we lose time with our guests?
Does one of these timelines mean we end up skipping our own dinner because we are rushing to catch up on photos?
Exactly. And those are the gritty details that truly dictate how the day actually feels from the stage. Because you can have the most beautiful flowers in the world, but if you are panicked about the sunset, you aren't going to enjoy them.
You really won't.
Precisely. Because we have seen couples choose the traditional aisle reveal despite the tight timeline, and they end up spending their entire cocktail hour stuck in a dark field taking flash photos, completely missing friends who traveled across the globe to see them.
Oh, that's so sad.
But to be fair, we have also seen couples choose the aisle reveal, except that they will only get 10 minutes of portraits and never regret it for a second, because that specific walk down the aisle was the exact experience they prioritized above all else.
And conversely, there are so many couples who choose the first look out of pure logistical necessity, only to say later that those 30 private minutes by the tree were the absolute best, most grounded part of the entire day.
Exactly. Logistics can inform your decision, but they shouldn't dictate it against your will. If the numbers are tight, viewing the first look as a practical protective tool can really alleviate the pressure of the choice.
So bringing this all together for the listener right now, the bride-to-be, who started this deep dive feeling entirely overwhelmed by all those Pinterest boards and forum debates, we've unpacked the private bubble, the primal charge of the aisle, and the mathematical reality of the sunset.
There's a lot to consider.
It is. So what is the final empowering thought we can leave her with as she makes this choice?
The absolute most important takeaway from observing all these hundreds of weddings is to remember that this is not a test you can fail.
I love that.
You are allowed to feel everything on your wedding day. You are allowed to feel it more than once. You can cry when you see your partner in private. You can cry again when the heavy doors open for the ceremony. You can cry during the vows. You can cry when your college roommate gives a surprisingly moving toast at the reception.
There's no limit.
None. There is no quota on your joy, and there is no limit to your emotional capacity.
And you do not have to manage anyone else's expectations. Not your mother's, not your photographers, not the internet's.
No. You choose based on what you want to feel, and then you trust that feeling. The professionals around you, your photographer, your coordinator, your officiant, they are there to support you. They will adjust, and they will follow your lead.
I want to circle all the way back to the metaphor we started with. As you plan this day, you are the director, putting all the moving pieces together, but you are also the star of the play, and as the star, you are the only one who gets to decide how the scene should feel from the stage.
So true.
So I want to leave you, our listener, with this one provocative thought to mull over today as you navigate all your planning spreadsheets. Fast forward a few decades. When you were 60 years old, sitting down in your living room, and you were telling the story of your wedding day to your grandchildren, what do you want the core memory of seeing your partner to be?
That is the big question.
It really is. Do you want that memory to be a quiet, tearful whisper just between the two of you, perfectly still under a tree? Or do you want the memory to be the collective gasp and the overwhelming roar of the room as the doors swung open?
That is truly the only question that actually matters.
Both are beautiful. Both are entirely right. You just have to decide which one is yours.
You've been listening to Planning Your I Do from You Had Me at I Do. Show notes, planning help, and ceremony support are at youhadmeatido.com/podcast. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and send it to a bride friend who needs answers instead of more stress at 2 in the morning. Thanks for listening.